Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Virtual Railroader Academy. We are Railroaders Play Railroads Online. I'm your host, Casey. At this point, I usually introduce my co host, Nick, but he's running a couple minutes late. Don't worry, Professor Nick will be here. But we're just going to get going without him because we do have a lot to cover in today's topic. We are talking train operations, and what the hell does that mean? You just pull the throttle and the train moves, right? Not quite. There's a little more nuance to it. We're going to be building off of what we talked about in Train Movements 101, building off of what we talked about different rule books, timetable and train order, and all of that good stuff. So we've got our engine here, number 93, and we're heading up to the refinery on an extra train, and we're going to be extra 93 south. And for a change, I'm not dispatching, so our dispatcher will be in contact shortly, or we'll hop on a telephone and call our dispatcher shortly and get our permissions. But for now, let's get our engine fired up. Found a fun, what I think is a bug, where if you leave your engines fired up and you're playing multiplayer and with the compressors on and pressure in the boiler, uh, if you don't do that and rather let your pressure go all the way down and turn off your air pumps, you get about 5 to 10 better frames per second than if you did otherwise. So, first thing I do when I get on an engine, usually it's fired up, but in this case, I'm going to get my engine fired up and then we'd kind of inspect it in the real world. Um, Walk around, do our hammer tests, and all of that good stuff. Make sure bolts are tight, oil, running gear, spring rigging, pony truck. Oh wow, look at that. That's got. I wonder. Oh, I want to see the bottom of that to see how that's sprung. That looks like it's nicely modeled. Yeah, that's what we'd kind of be doing right about now. If we were out in the real world, but obviously we can't oil anything in the game. Yet. I don't know. Maybe yet. Yeah. So I'm not dispatching, so I don't need to check in with any of the other crews. That's kind of weird. But while that builds up the pressure, we're gonna check our fuel situation. Obviously, we got a lot of wood, and I'll definitely need to take some water. So we'll have to head out and grab water before we tie onto our train. And it looks like I'm getting a ping from our dispatcher, so let's see what that says. Dispatcher just walked over and told us to expect a train order, and we'll be train order number 2. So once we get pressure up and we get permission from our yard master to move around the yard and get onto our train, we'll go ahead and hop on the telephone and call him and find out what we need to do. And like I said, we're going to be running as an extra, so I will get my extra lamps up. And if we remember from Train Movements 101, white lamps or white flags denote that you are an extra train. So that way everyone else on the railroad knows that you're an extra. Check on our fire here. Water temperature's up to 110, so we'll get our pump on. And start making some air pressure. I'm going to wait until that's just up over 125 before I start moving. On the real steam engines, main reservoir pressures, 150. 150 to 130. So wait until we have a little bit of pressure. And as of right now, I'm still the yard master. So, Hostler, how are you doing in the yard there?
I'm good. Just getting ready to put this caboose on the cut of lumber cars.
Okay, I will hold up shy of that switch then. I'm coming out of the hole. Right, so we'll
Copy
get
that.
our tender brake kicked off. And we'll do our air test. So, set up some air. Psh, 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 psh. And yeah, very funny. Playing around like it's a sixth brake. Gotta have a little fun in the game. That will kick off our air. Whistle off, ring the bell, and start shoving back here. And we're easing up off of the shop. If you tuned into the workshop on yards and their design, you'll notice that Hill Valley looks a lot different than it used to. While doing that whole stream, I realized the problems that were going on, and with a couple of kind of minor changes, we were able to make the yard much more functional. Hey. Yeah. In real world, I like leaving the cylinder cocks open for quite a while, especially after just warming up the engine for the day and getting it moving, because you'll get a lot of condensate in there. So in game, I like leaving them open until I tie onto my train. And where's your engine, Hostler? Just so that way I don't run into you.
I'm at the near the phone booth,
Oh, okay.
north side.
Yep, you're just rendering an interview for me now. Is that train coming backwards on its own?
No, I'm just putting the caboose on that cut of lumber cars still.
Oh, oh, someone's helping me out with switching then. Cool. Our wonderful Mr. Yardmaster out there. So what we did to fix Hill Valley is, you'll remember the ready tracks were all here in the center. We moved those over to where the storage yard used to be, and moved the storage yard into the center, and cleaned up this whole junction here. It's made the whole yard a lot more functional, and it's working out a lot better for us. So I'm very happy with it. I'm extremely happy with these changes. Alright, I see switch targets line for me. So give it a little bit of throttle. Let's get moving here and tie onto our train. Remember, we are operating inside yard limits, so that means kind of anything goes. Anyone can move inside yard limits as long as you have permission from the Yardmaster. Yardmaster being myself right now. So we have permission. And get this thing to a stop. Just clear the points, as we are brakeman, engineer, and conductor today. Now, part of timetable and train order, if you remember from the train movement 101, is you're not a train until you're tied, until you have markers and authority to move outside of yard limits, and you're a locomotive with or without a cut of cars. And naturally, we are currently a locomotive with or without a cut of cars. But we don't have authority to move outside of yard limits, and we don't have markers, so we're not a train. And another thing with timetable and train order is you are, as soon as you've arrived at your terminal, you cease being that train, and you are not a train until you've tied on to the cut of cars you're going to be pulling, or have established markers and have been given authority to move. So even though we know we're going to be running as Extra 93 today, because that's what was on the job board, we're not Extra 93 yet, we're still Engine 93. So we'll roll on up here to water tower, and while the engine's taking water, we'll call over to our. We'll hop on the telephone at the freight house and call over to the dispatcher and copy our train order. Hope that sounds like a good plan to everyone else. Sounds like a good plan for me.
I mean, as long as we don't have any collisions, we're good.
One would hope. And hop into the FU for this. So that way we can spot it better. And ladies and gentlemen, Professor Nick.
Hi.
What's going
Are
on,
we
Nick?
are we live?
We are live.
Oh, great. Well, hello everybody, and I apologize for my delay. I was caught up by a previous seminar, aka the seminar of uh, dinner.
Ooh, that's acceptable in railroading to be late for food.
The seminar of man, it took longer to make that meat for the Euro than I thought it would.
Ooh,
Yes. And I'm happy to share what I've learned from that on Virtual Railroaders Academy upcoming cooking show, which may or may not actually be an upcoming thing.
cooking on the scoop.
Well, I wouldn't recommend trying to make an Euro on the scoop. It was more complicated than just putting a bunch of meat on the shovel. Tacos, on the other hand, that could be interesting. So, we are talking about train movements today. Is that correct?
Train operations, not train movements. Because there's a
Oh,
difference. We're going to learn what that difference is.
I'm
It's
game for it.
it is the we're talking about the practical application of everything we talked about in train movements. So
Excellent.
we
Should I
talked.
be respawning to the to Hill Valley?
Yes, please. I am watering our engine and going to be reaching out to our dispatcher soon and copying our train orders.
Now, so far, our train operation has been in the yard, and maybe you could do a brief refresher on what you've covered in the past 15 minutes.
So we were talking about firing up the engine, what you would look at when you're inspecting it, rods, yada yada yada, oiling around, getting our engine up to fire temperature, and starting our air pump and waiting to build air pressure before we can move. Why you keep the cylinder cocks open when you're moving around after freshly firing up an engine, and what white lamps mean. And that you need permission from the yardmaster to do anything in the yard.
These are all good lessons to be covering.
Yes.
And as always, when we are covering our lessons, we encourage you, our faithful and humble students, to join in the conversation, ask questions, make comments on the Twitch stream, and we will be more than happy to answer them to the best of our knowledge and ability, or react accordingly.
Yes. All right.
So, let's see.
And while that's taking water, I'm gonna walk on over to the phone booth. I'm on the west side of the freight depot, Nick, taking water
Oh, that's
with
why I don't.
engine 93.
I'm still getting used to the whole rearrangement of the yard and the new facilities that we have at our
Yes.
disposal.
And All right, hopefully everyone can see that train order. So this is engine 93 to dispatcher.
Mohawk Dispatch.
Yeah, we are engine 93. We are ready to copy our train order.
Roger that. You'll be running to Mile Long Yard today?
Okay.
Oh, that was a question.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Well, we're going to the refinery.
Refinery. All right. All right. Train order number 2. Oh, sorry. 19 East. Or sorry, 19 South. Copy 3.
19 South, copy 3. Yes.
Ready to copy?
Ready to copy.
Ready to copy. Train order number 2.
Train order number 2.
Dated May 11/22.
May 11/22.
To conductor and engineer, engine 9393.
To CND engine 9393.
Engine 9393, run extra Hill Valley to Mile Long Yard.
Casey, it switched out of the tab. It's back in the game.
That's the dumb thing it does where that's on my hot commands. So we go that everyone can see again?
Yes.
Okay, good. Run extra Hill Valley to Mile Long Yard. And I'm gonna where is this where am I getting this train order at?
Oh, sorry, you're at Hill Valley.
Thank you.
Meet number 9898. Engine 4, FOUR, at Mile Long.
Green.
There we go, and we're back. I have to fix these hot commands. Alright. Is that it?
You read it back?
Am I taking the whole or the main?
You are going to be taking the siding.
Thank you.
Extra 93 takes siding at Mile Long Yard.
And I gotta do the thing where I go like that again. There's a weird bug in my thing. Alright, I will have to get that fixed eventually. Alright. I've got train order number 2 dated 5/11/22 to CNE engine 93 at Hill Valley. Engine 93 run extra Hill Valley to Mile Long Yard. Meet 98 engine 4 at Mile Long Yard. Extra 93 takes siding at Mile Long Yard.
That is correct.
Alright.
Time 7:55 p.m. Dispatcher AWP.
5 p.m. Operator AWP. Thank you. This is extra 93 out. Alright, so there we have it, everyone. That's our train order. We know that we're going to be running extra Hill Valley to Mile Long Yard. We know we're meeting train 98 there, and we're taking the whole. So looks like we're full up on water, and we can go ahead, tack onto our train, and make sure we have permission to depart, since our train order did not specify what time we were leaving at. If they wanted you to leave at a specific time, they would put it there. least in the standard code books I've worked off of, there could be a standard code book where the made complete is what gives you permission to depart. But we also do need permission from the Yardmaster to depart as well, which is me. So I say as soon as we're tied on, we can leave. And
Convenient.
we're pretty, our cylinders are plenty warmed up, so I'm just gonna kick those closed.
And so that copying of the order was what I'd call easy level because you were treating it more like a back and forth conversation. But if you were doing it over the radio, typically you'd kind of have to get it all in one fell swoop. So your dispatcher would be saying everything as far as giving like the entirety of the authority, the date, the train, all those details. And then you would repeat it back in one go. And then if the repeat is good, then they would give the
One more forward,
time
Nick.
completion.
Oh wait, you're not throwing switches.
No, I'm not. That's on me. I'm in the cab with you.
Oh.
But is that correct?
Depends on the dispatcher. Some people work line by line and give you a chance to copy. Other people do everything in one fell swoop. Or if you're standing there in person, it usually goes. It's usually one big go. They do the whole thing in one.
Gotcha.
So it's largely up to who the dispatcher is and the circumstances of your conversation, which, like everything, it's circumstantial. But that was indicative of how copying a train order goes.
Gotcha. And when you're working at where you're usually running Steam, is that something that you're doing before every trip, essentially, or how is that getting dispatched?
My railroad works on the Form D system, and we're usually the only train out on the railroad, so we get a Form D for us to have the whole railroad. So at the start of the day, we'll pick up our Form D from the dispatcher, and we will have a read back, much like how I read it back to our dispatcher. And the engineer will have a copy, the conductor will have a copy, the dispatcher will have their copy, and the last person to receive the order is the person who reads it. And as we're reading it, we're all reading along and making sure it's written correct on all three copies. So you want to make sure all three copies are correct, and I've rejected train orders for them being, or I rejected Form Ds for their being incorrect, and having misinformation on them. But now that we're tied onto our train, what we do in our world is what's called an initial terminal air test, and Heist talked a little bit about that last week, where you'd make sure the brakes work on the whole train. In game, you could still do something that looks similar to that, and that could be something as simple as walking down, making sure all your handbrakes are knocked off, and you have links and pins and everything. That's how simple an initial terminal in the game could be. But it's a good habit to get into because you don't want to leave half your train behind, when it could have taken you 2 minutes to just walk the train and make sure everything's knocked off, pins are in, links are in. It's something simple that could save you quite a bit of embarrassment.
Yeah, handbrakes are knocked off on the caboose and the marker lights are put up.
Alright, copy that. Handbrakes are knocked off, marker lights are put up, and I saw links and pins and everything. And folks at home, what makes us a train? 3 things that make us a train, a little Quizlet time. Go ahead and type your answers into chat there.
While folks are responding to that question, follow up to my earlier question, is that the Form Ds that you're doing, is that per round trip or is that per day?
When it is just us out on the railroad, it is per day. We get a Form D that gives us uh, exclusive access to the railroad. When there's meets, we get Form Ds to get us to each meet.
Gotcha.
And this is extra 93 to dispatch.
Dispatch.
Yeah, we have permission from the Yardmaster to depart at your discretion.
You have your orders. You can depart.
Alright, copy that. Thank you, dispatch. 93 out. And like Heist talked about last week, nice and easy with the acceleration so we don't break any links pins. And that allows us to pick up each one of these cars one by one. So we're not starting a huge train, we are starting each car one by one. It's easier to get rolling. Looks like we have our first answer punched in, and that's markers. Markers is one of the 3 things you need to be considered a train on the railroad. Anyone else know what the other 2 are? Yeah, we've got rolling enough, so I've kicked my cylinder cocks closed. Cause now we're making, we've blown out any condensate.
Ninja Cat is suggesting the 3 things we need are coffee on the stove in the caboose, at least 1 crew member that's been on the railroad since the dawn of time and is a curmudgeon, and permission of Hunter Harrison's ghost.
Unfortunately, you only got 2 of those correct. And that is coffee and old curmudgeon. You do not need permission from Hunter Harrison's ghost.
Unless you're on a CSX or CP or CN.
Yes.
But we are on none of those railroads.
No, we are not precision scheduled railroading here. We're barely scheduled railroading at times.
On the beautiful Ahsokan, Mohonk, and Western.
Yes. And for who knows how much longer we'll be on this version of the railroad. That is some exciting news out there. To steer away from that for a minute, I'm excited. We've been talking about the day forever, the new splines, the better frame rates, the no more popcorning.
The no more popcorning will be particularly nice. From where I sit on the left-hand side of the engine as it jolts every second.
So I'm keeping my speed. I want to try and maintain the speed as I come through this tight curve and out of the departure yard. Lucky for me, I have a nice view back to my caboose to see where it is, to see as I'm clearing up. So I'm looking back, I'm looking ahead, making sure our switches are lined.
Hey, Rick, I just turned our tender handbrake off.
Oh,
Um,
that
we
explains
should,
a lot.
we should probably check the brake shoes in that tender because they're going to be real hot.
Oof.
Yeah.
Train 98 to dispatch. We have arrived at Mile Long Yard
Copy.
and are now holding for some kind of extra.
Oh boy, we better highball then. And we're
I
not
would
supposed to be
think.
hearing those dispatching, but... well, we're gonna highball.
We'll take this up with management.
You should speak to your supervisor about that.
Okay.
Excuse me
Engine
while I go and
6.
quickly change my name in Discord so I'm no longer the manager.
Engine 6 to Yardmaster.
Yeah, go ahead.
Permission to move my train over to Departure 2 for preparation to depart Hill Valley.
You have my permission to move over to Departure 1 to prepare to depart. And this is Yardmaster taking off my hat and handing over the yard to you.
Oh, great. More responsibility.
It just hands it off to the next guy who shows up.
That tree looks like a good candidate.
But with
Uh-oh,
great
just log in.
responsibility comes great power.
Oh, Spider-Man quote, never too early.
Or a reverse of it.
Yes. You do realize now that you've said that your character in the game must die, right?
If that were possible in this game, then we could see about replicating that. As it is, I can't even get him to lay down.
Yeah, when's the health bar coming?
My ankles are gonna hurt every time I jump off a mountain.
Superhero landing.
Ran into a tree. So we have just passed the yard limits, and we are
Yes.
now on the lane.
We
If I
are.
say you take 3 points of bludgeoning damage, is that lost on this crew?
Yes.
Damn it.
I got
Ah.
it. It's okay. So yes, Nick, we are out of yard limits. That's what that stone wall groundwork means there, since we don't have signs in the game yet. But now that we're outside of yard limits, we officially need to be a train to be out here. And since none of our wonderful students got it, the other two things you need to be a train are you need to be a locomotive. You need to be a locomotive or locomotives with or without cars. You need authority to move on the main track outside of yard limits. And the only way to get that is either with a Form 19 or a Form D if you're on the NORAC system, or to be a scheduled train. So those are and the third thing is markers. So now that we have all three, we're a train, we're outside of yard limits, we're on the main line, and we're highballing as fast as we can go.
You can notice the rocketing speed that we have accelerated to.
A blistering 17 miles an hour.
A very fixed 17 miles an hour.
Yes.
Which won't be forever. That's
No,
also...
no, it's we're getting there soon. Slowly but surely. Now we're hustling towards our meet with the passenger train. We should have been there first, but we got held up taking water.
Good news about 17 miles an hour is it means I can outrun the train and get photo opportunities of it
Yes, snag those photos.
as we come up to our first grade crossing of the evening.
I started a little bit too early. So let me try that one again.
Just make it extra long. Give it that extra flourish on the end.
How many extra jokes are you gonna make tonight?
Those weren't intentional. I can say that.
Throw
same
back on
face
the
up to
extra board?
Google. Once I start talking about how this is an extra special episode, then we know that we're into fun territory. But we haven't gotten there yet.
We're not there
Or
yet.
have
Soon, not yet.
Yes. And for those of you tuning in and wanting to, especially those of you who are new to the landscape and geography of the good old AM&W, you can type in !map into the live chat. And thanks to the wizardry of Twitch, that will bring up a link to, you guessed it, your local Starbucks. I mean, the map of the AM&W. And you can see all of the locations that exist on the railway and where we are going. And where we are. And where we have been. All of which are important to know in life. And Squiggy points out that each episode is an extra special episode. Well, there's some truth to that. Although I think last week's was extra special then.
Last week's was a fun one.
Last week's was when you didn't get, you ordered the pizza, and you didn't just get extra cheese. You got 2 rounds of extra cheese. Although let's face it, when you have Neil on as a passenger, you'll get extra cheese no matter what. That's pretty much a given. Clockwork, thank you for subscribing to the
That's
virtual
me,
railroad
Nick.
economy. Oh, I know,
Thank you.
but I'm still thanking you. Every contribution goes acknowledged.
I gotta try to help out a little bit here, you know?
Well, presumably you're helping out by way of
Just
getting
being
cargo
here.
moved on this. Yes, just
When I
being here.
can. Yeah, when I can, yes. Absolutely.
And when you're here moving tons of freight. Because that's what we do. Unless we're moving passengers. But we're not moving passengers
Not tonight.
We're moving freight.
We are on a freight train tonight.
Yes.
And this is Meh operator to dispatch. Not Meh, this is Hurley
I was gonna
operator
say-
to dispatch.
Go ahead, Hurley operator.
I have extra 93 south, clear Hurley at 8:12 p.m. 8:12 p.m.
X93 South. Clear Hurley at 8:12 p.m. Dispatch.
Hurley out.
I say I didn't realize that Matt got relocated.
You know, I don't spend that much time on the Southern Division, so I probably need to requalify on the territory myself. And they built it.
Well, just chalk it up to the amount of adventures we've been on since it was built.
We have been on a lot of adventures here. So, net communication, for those of you out there, there are quote-unquote line-side operators along the way, and since we don't have line-side operators in-game yet, we don't really have train order stations or telephone booths in-game yet, so we're making it work with how we can. As a train passes a train order station, and that's a station where there's an operator or there's a book, and if there's no operator, the train needs to stop and fill out the book. If there is an operator, the train needs to, as the train passes, the operator reaches out to the dispatcher and says, this train passed at this time, so that way the dispatcher can note it in their book and keep track of where all the trains are in the railroad. So that way the dispatcher knows where everyone is and can have trains meet where appropriate and figure out where to fit in all the extras. So that's what that conversation was about. And we would do that on one of my railroads. We'd have we called it a virtual train order station, because naturally these are in the days of radio and telephone. So when we would run our Thomas the Tank Engine trains, we'd run our normal operation train out ahead of Thomas, and Thomas would follow 10 minutes behind, because this is timetable and train order naturally, so they can be within 10 minutes of each other. And then running back, Thomas would lead, and the other train would and the regular train would follow. And then they'd both meet back at the main station, and the regular train would go into the hole, and Thomas would stay in the clear on the main, and then the regular train would go back out again, and Thomas, and yada yada yada, for 10 times the day. So we had a virtual train order station where Thomas turned around to start going back towards the station. So what would happen is we had a position on the crew whose job it was to place a phone call to a designated person on the Thomas train who was allowed to answer or on the regular train who was allowed to answer the phone. And the Thomas train would say, hey, this is train 601 north and clear of this unnamed station, so I don't dox myself. And then the regular train's telephone operator would be like, alright, you are north and clear of this location.
Island of Sodor.
Yes, Island of Sodor. And we do that throughout the course of the day. And every time Thomas would pass a milepost or a station point going north on the radio, we would pay attention to that. And I got switches line for us to go into the hole at Mile Long Yard, and I see 98 in the clear on the main.
I really want to believe that, especially now that that Thomas can talk, uh, that Thomas was actually saying it was part of the conversation. Like Thomas was just reporting his own location.
And that was long short to let the other train know that we're approaching him for a meet. And here's our wonderful telephone booth at Mile Long Yard.
As we're passing the Mohonk Flyer with its California Zephyr style caboose dome experience,
Yeah,
with the finest tea to be found in the Mohonk Valley.
I'm only a little upset no one clipped that from last week. Just a little bit,
Which,
passing
Which
the
bit?
Mohonk Flyer.
oh,
I'm a little disappointed no one clipped it, but you know.
There's always next time.
or this time.
Or this time. I don't know, Heist's reaction was pretty funny to the cursed passenger train.
That's true.
And it is cursed. There's no getting around that.
We make do. We are resourceful on the railroad.
We are very resourceful.
Now, you
Um,
mentioned. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
so I am going to need to stop at the other end of the yard and get new train orders. Because we've only given permission to get this far.
I guess Train 98's got to do that too.
Yeah, I'm just gonna pull up a little bit more here. And
Okay. Hey, Train 98 dispatch.
98, go ahead.
Extra 93 is clear of us at Mile Long Yard. We are ready to continue north.
You have authority via timetable. You may continue north.
Excellent. Thank you.
GF 9219, that passenger train sure looks like a hack job.
Mm,
Yeah.
hmm
Thank you for your contribution, Jeff.
I love it.
is most appreciated.
We appreciate a good pun here. We'll take it. Love it.
With regards to the business about having a designated person who could receive cell calls, how I presume that person's able to because they're not in operation of the train, so it's not your engineer or your conductor, and that's why they're authorized to be able to have
So-
a phone on them.
We did a non-hours of service position, and it was a railroad telephone.
Okay.
So that's how we were able to do it.
And what
So,
does
Hours of,
non-railroad hours of service mean? in this context?
hours of service is someone who is underneath the hours of service law. And it is engineers, firemen, conductors, brakemen. Those and dispatchers. But dispatchers are allowed to use cell phones. It gets a little gray there. I don't understand the dispatcher end of it because I'm not a dispatcher. So I don't understand how their law works. Dispatcher law is a little bit different. So because I am not, so I would mark up as we basically called it. They called you a car attendant, so that way you had a position on the railroad, but your job was essentially cell phone operator. And it was a railroad cell phone that allowed it to happen, and you're allowed to have railroad cell phones in this time of day, and conductors can carry their railroad issued cell phones on them, and they can be on in their grip because it's railroad issue and you're using it for railroad business.
That makes sense.
All right, so we're close enough to the end of the yard. So I'll stop here, and I see that Rudy Lowry hasn't built us a telephone booth on this end of the yard, so we'll just play a little bit make-believe. Does everyone Everyone at home feel good with that? That'll stop eventually. This is Extra 93 to dispatch.
Dispatch.
Extra 93 has arrived at Mile Long Yard. We are ready for our next set of orders to get up to the refinery.
Copy.
Alright, I am ready to copy.
Okay. This will be train order number 4. Date is May 11, 22. To conductor and engineer, Extra 93 South, at Mile Long Yard. Extra 93, or Engine 93 run Extra Mile Long Yard to Rattling Valley.
Extra 93. That's the approved abbreviation, by the way, chat. It's in my timetable. It's in my employee timetable that I can abbreviate that way.
We're not seeing the
Cause it did the thing again. I don't know why. It's not supposed to change unless I hit the change screen button, so I'm a little confused there.
Are you tabbing?
No. It's also, the change screen is not, I'm gonna have to play with it. Change screen is set up to backslash. Actually, forward slash. It's a key like you never use, so I'm a little concerned there. I'll have to play with it. I'll get it working. Alright. I am ready to read back.
Okay.
I've got Form 19, train order number 404, dated May 11, 22, to C&E Extra 93 South at Mile Long Yard. Extra 93 run Mile Long Yard to Rattling Valley.
That is correct. Time 8:24 p.m.
8. Did the thing again.
Yes, it did.
And it's back.
Yay.
Made complete 8:24 p.m. AWP.
Yep.
Alright, we'll call you when we get to Rattling Valley.
Copy.
Alright, there we have it, folks. Our next train order to get out of here. So, assuming all our switches are set up there, just gonna start this train nice and easy. And doing a little bit of throttle pumping there. Just get us rolling. And now that I feel that I've got all the cars picked up, because it's a thing you can feel, is when you've got all the cars picked up, we will get out of here. And highball. So we're going to be stopping next at Rattling Valley to pick up our next set of orders.
We have a question regarding why we are not using a 24-hour clock.
24 hour is actually a recent thing in railroading.
There
I
was
grew up.
AM and PM beforehand.
I was brought up that from this, these are railroaders, God, from the 60s that were bringing me up. That it was, we used a 12-hour clock, and there was no noon or midnight on the railroad. It was 12:01 a.m. or 12:01 p.m. So that's how we operate. And 'cause if you say 12 o'clock a.m., people are going to question if that's midnight or noon. And if you say same thing with 12 p.m. So if you say 12:01 p.m., you know it's the afternoon. That's a weird thing that carries over for my life. When I'm like making appointments at my job and scheduling meetings, I won't schedule anything for noon. I'll always schedule it for 12:01. It's a weird thing that's carried over in my life.
Well, if it works, it works. I mean, there's all
Yeah.
these different time systems, but as long as it's clear between the people what is being communicated, then everybody is entitled to their particular system.
And that goes for how you run your railroad in the game too. If whatever you're doing works for you, great, because that's all it needs to do. It needs to work for you. It doesn't need to work for me here. It doesn't need to work for BMAC. It doesn't need to work for Nick. It needs to work for you.
And that's the thing, is essentially you could create your own operating rules, and maybe you already have, when you're developing your Railroads Online railroad or your model railroad. And it's entirely up to you to set what those rules are, as long as they remain consistent between crews and between sessions.
Mm-hmm. Ninja Cat says that 24 hours very recent. When Conrail was split up into NS and CSX, they took control at 12:01 a.m. on June 6, 99. So yeah, it's within the last 20 years.
Or was that January 6th?
No, because we're not British.
No, it was June.
Yes, also have your date format correct. If you want to be British and put your date before your month, great. Just make sure you do it everywhere and that everybody knows that that's what you're doing.
Bye bye, Conrail died. I've got American Pie stuck in my head now. Thanks for that, Ninja.
Wow, I would not have gone there from the day Conrail died, but sure.
The day the music died.
The days the music died.
No, I
Come on.
totally understand. As a music person, I get it, but I guess I didn't corroborate that with Conrail.
You know, vicious, horrible deaths. Some would say one of them's tragic. The other one is Conrail.
Now I'm thinking through the lyrics of that. It'd be something like, you know, fly, fly with SD60 eyes.
Oh boy.
I prefer the Weird
You
Al
started here.
Yankovic version.
Yes.
My,
long time
this
ago.
long Anakin guy. Maybe Vader someday later, but he's just a small fry.
Oh,
Left
man.
his home and kissed his mommy goodbye, singing suit, I'm gonna be a Jedi. That one.
Yeah.
Stop now.
Okay,
Yeah, there goes my ad revenue.
extra
Sorry.
number 6 to dispatcher. Ready to depart from Hill Valley to Ironworks with 8 cars of lumber. Who's the dispatcher?
We did give him enough coffee.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, please don't tell me that fell to me as well.
Dispatcher?
Train orders posted. Unless you want me to read them off to everybody.
practice makes perfect for the sake of not your practice, but the
But for the stream,
practice of our audience.
We'll
Okay.
do another readback. They get the full
He did-
radio experience.
He doesn't have the form. Hold on, I'll send him the form.
Ah, you're gonna make him fill it out too.
If I'm gonna read it, he's gonna fill it out.
Okay, just need me to read it off now.
Oh no, you're gonna fill this out.
Someone's on the tracks here.
Don't worry, that's just the dispatcher.
You shall not depart.
Carolyn, if you want to hop on with that, which train are you hopping on with?
I don't know. I haven't actually gotten in game yet. I'm still kind of doing everything else. I'm sorry.
Oh, no
You're
worries.
there.
Actually, I already issued that train order, so that's your. We're not gonna have you fill this out, but I'll read it to you. Train order number 3, dated May 11, 22. To conductor engineer number 6. To conductor engineer engine 6 at Hill Valley. After number 98, engine 4 arrives at Hill Valley, engine 6 run extra Hill Valley to Mile Log Yard.
Copy that. Trainer number 3, May 11th, 22. To conductor and engineer, engine 6 at Hill Valley. After number 98, engine 4 arrives at Hill Valley. Engine 6 run extra Hill Valley to Mile Long Yard.
That is correct.
Made complete. 8:10 p.m. AWP.
Aren't train orders a wonderful thing, folks? They're a simple way of moving stuff around the railroad, so that way you have a vague idea of where everything is. Now, as we are traveling through the Gorge here, one of our favorite locations here at the AM&W, we're going only as far as Rattling Valley before we need to stop and pick up more orders, because we're just kind of jumping slowly down the railroad. And this is more or less how train operations work. There's less to explain in between as things are happening, because it's all about what's happening. The actual running, fairly simple. You run. The theory is you run with the throttle all the way out, and you control your speed with the reverser. None of this is modeled in game. There's not a whole lot to talk about it yet. Trust me, I'd love to talk about it. But for right now, the moral of the story is keep your train moving. Run as fast as you're able to. And, you know, speed limit on this railroad, 17 miles an hour. So we're just going to keep doing 17 miles an hour all the way there.
Keeping the greasy side down and the shiny side up.
Yes. And I get a little bit more wood on this fire.
Dispatch train 401 ready to depart at the coal mine.
Roger.
Yeah, we're coming out of the gorge now and should be coming up on Rattling Valley any minute now.
Engine 4, you can pull up. We're dropping those 3 freight cars here.
Roger, you get the. Oh, you get.
Yep.
98, I'm assuming that you've seen your pickups and your new engine.
Yes, new engine's getting fired up, and I found the pickups, so.
Sweet.
You have any
When-
preference on where 4 gets left?
You could leave 4 on the pocket track there. Just make sure you turn off the air pump and leave the engine bleeding down on pressure.
Okay, so it's gonna stay where the mogul is currently?
No, pocket track, not where the mogul is, where you're picking up the cars from.
Ah, gotcha.
It'll fit in there with with the 3 cars.
Okay, so we're gonna leave it there?
Yeah, and then Hill Valley Yard will take care of it.
Okay. Alright, so 4, keep pulling up. Give me enough clearance to use the mogul and pull those 5 cars out of there, and then you can just back in.
Got it.
Alright, and we're coming up on the call bot on the telephone box for Rattling Valley. So I'm just pinching my train down. And whistle off that we've stopped. And use the handbrake to help us out a little bit. So I'm gonna head on into my telephone booth here. Yada yada yada. This is Extra 93 to dispatch.
Dispatch, go ahead.
Yeah, Extra 93 has arrived at Rattling Valley. We are ready for our next set of orders.
Extra 93 arrives at Rattling Valley. Copy.
And extra 6 to dispatcher. Clear to depart for Mile
Yes.
Long Yard.
Yep, 98 arrived.
Okay. I guess that means I'll be handing the Yardmaster hat over to you now.
Yes. All right. 401 at Coal Mine.
401 here.
Train order number 5, dated May 11, 22. To conductor and engineer, engine 39 at Coal Mine. Engine 39, run Coal Mine to Plateau. Run extra Coal Mine to Plateau.
Train order number 5, May 11th to train 401, engine 39, departing coal mine to Plateau Yard at 8:37 p.m.
That's correct.
And viewers, we are just waiting for our turn. It's very much a turn-based thing when you're communicating with the dispatcher. Extra 93 to dispatcher.
Extra 93, go ahead.
Yeah, we've arrived at Rattling Valley. We are awaiting our new orders to the refinery.
Roger. Extra. Train order number 6, dated May 11, 22. To conductor and engineer, extra 93 south at Rattling Valley. Extra 93 south, run Rattling Valley. Run extra 90, sorry. Engine 93, run extra Rattling Valley to oil refinery.
Alright, ready for a readback?
Yep.
I've got train order number 6, dated 5/11/22 to CND Extra 93 South at Rattling Valley. Engine 93 run extra Rattling Valley to oil refinery.
That is correct.
Made complete. Made complete.
Complete time 8:41.
second. Boom. There we go. Alright. There's our train order. We're running from Rattling Valley to the oil refinery. We're still as extra 93. Alright, Nick, you still running there?
I am.
Alright, highball.
Eyeballing. Maybe. Definitely.
I may have grabbed the tender brake. There we go. That'll probably help a bit.
Yes. That appears to have done the trick.
So we hope you're getting a little bit of insight into how dispatching works as a very base level. Obviously there's a lot more to it. We're hoping to get a guest on to come teach me how to be the dispatcher all night, which I'm really looking forward to because I love dispatching. It's not something I get to do because I'm running trains instead of telling them when to run. But I'm looking forward to that one, and you know, it's just a primer in how we get trains moving all around the railroad. There's a lot more to it than just saying go, but there's a way of keeping things kind of organized into knowing where people are, and that's what we're doing tonight. That's basics of train operations. You know, we're going to be arriving at the refinery shortly. We'll start getting into some switching stuff and how
For
to switch
me,
out an industry.
As a model railroader and somebody who enjoys the upside of model railroading, I'm also looking forward to learning from a real dispatcher and knowing how to up my game, because especially with model railroading, it's something where I've been in all sorts of levels of immersion of session, and to me, the more paperwork and the more structured the conversation over the radio or in the office, the crew office, whatever the setup is, the more immersive it is as a whole.
I really think so, and I've actually spent a lot of time in the past couple weeks trying to figure out how to better the immersion of the timetable and train order operations here. And you know, traditional timetable, you know where every train is because it has an arrival time and a departure time. And how do you apply that to this game where there's no clock built in? We don't have a fast clock here. How do I apply it to the game where, you know, I may not have 24 people to run every train on the railroad that's scheduled that night? So it's kind of hard to trying to figure out how to apply that to this has actually been quite a challenge, and we're slowly coming up with something. We're hoping the spline update helps where everyone runs at a consistent speed finally, because there's some weird frame rate physics going on with that still. You know, and I'm enjoying talking with my model railroader friends and learning how they apply train order, learning how they apply timetables to their op sessions, because they're in a similar boat to this. Well, what if I don't have 20 people to run the trains tonight? How, and, you know, but I still want to run all the trains. So then everything just gets pushed back a little bit and it throws off the timetable. How do you deal with that? And it's not something the railroads need to deal with, because they have employees, they have crews, they know what trains, they know they can crew those trains. Well, in theory they can crew those trains. We all know Union Pacific's having that problem right now, but that's besides the point.
Well, not just Union Pacific either.
Sorry, Class 1s are having that problem right now, but that's besides the point.
Yes. There's something to be said for not being a Class 1, and fortunately here on the AM and W, we are not, so we don't have to worry about that.
We're a short line. We're a Class 3 railroad.
We are here for your entertainment and education. And if you are enjoying said entertainment and education, we encourage you to follow us on Twitch. Just clicking that purple heart button lets us know you love us. Lets us know you care, which we appreciate. We also have a link tree where you can see links to everything in maps, social media. Go to linktr.ee /Virtual Railroad Academy.
Or
And
you
you
can
will
go
get-
ahead. Sorry.
Mm.
I was gonna say, or you can type !tree into the chat, and that'll also bring you to link tree right this very second.
Rudy, did you
That
want to
works.
run to Ashokan?
Sure.
Okay, cool.
Call.
Yeah, I'll go up to the switch points and get everything.
Yep, I think we're lined out. I just gotta make sure there's nothing ahead of us. I don't think there is, but. 398 dispatch.
Go ahead.
We are done Hill Valley Yard. We now have locomotive 34 leading. Is there anything ahead of us between here and Ashokan? I don't think there is.
There is not.
In that case, do we have permission to attempt
Yeah.
the railroad?
Yardmaster gives you permission to run your schedule.
Excellent. Off we go. Thank you very much.
And Nick is out there enjoying the freight train flying through Mohawk Station here. The beautiful.
It is such a great location. There was something I was going to say to that, and I completely forget what it was.
This has become my new.
Oh,
Oh.
I know what I was going to say. The first word in our railroad's name in honor of Star Wars Day does make me think of a Star Wars character every time we talk about it.
Ahsoka.
Yes.
Also, Star Wars Day was last week.
Well, in
Yeah,
honor
that's
of recent Star Wars Day. We weren't streaming on Star Wars Day, so.
May the Schwartz be with ya.
No, that's Spaceballs Day.
I know, but still.
That's
How dare you?
We take Star Wars very seriously here at the Ahsokan, Mohawk, and Western.
When will then be now?
how
Oof.
soon is now.
Soon?
Wow, nope. Okay. We had a Spaceballs reference and then everybody failed. Yeah, never mind.
It's Star Wars, not Spaceball. Come on.
Well, no! Never mind.
Mohawk's become one of my favorite places that feels railroady in the game. Just because you got a freight train flying through a passenger station, you've got a little tiny terminal there, a freight dock. Like it just screams railroad. The whole thing about it. It's quickly become one of my favorite locations. And
Sometimes the trains literally fly by.
occasionally, it's I really love it. That's my. I think we end up talking about this every stream about making the game feel a little bit more railroady, and that's one of the places that does it for me. And the beauty of how it feels railroady.
You hired me, right?
Yes, that's why you were hired.
No.
By the way, the telephone booth at the new telephone booth at the north end of Mile Long Yard is also intended to be a signal bridge.
Oh, semaphores?
I'm working on it. I ran out of time because 98 to get back on the road, but
I was
Yeah.
wondering, it had a distinct Pensy character about it.
I was thinking Erie.
actually,
which-
the Erie would be laying on its side.
Fun facts, we can blame the Erie for the conductor being in charge of the train. They're the ones who started that standard.
Huh.
So if you've ever
You s-
wanted to be mad that the conductor's the boss, you know who to be mad at. Blame the Erie Railroad.
The Erie started a lot of things. Actually, as a matter of fact, the Erie was the railroad that introduced telegraph as for train orders.
But they didn't finish a lot of things.
No, they never
Ouch.
graduated from telegraph to anything else. But
But they were good at it. They've perfected it. And I'm looking forward to Telegraph in the game where, we can send orders inside the game and you'll actually have a train order semaphore to stop at. So we all better brush up on our signal aspects.
There's only 3.
Oh, and Ron.
For the train order board.
Oh, well, for the train order board, yes, but
all
signal
you
app.
need.
I thought you were going red, yellow, and green.
No. I mean, the train order board has a light that shows red, yellow, and green.
Well, if it's Pensy, there's only 3 positions.
Yeah.
Diagonal, vertical, and horizontal.
I didn't think they were actually adding signals per se.
I figured they were adding semaphores. But like manual, like block semaphores.
Yeah, I think that's for that Boston, Revere Beach, and Lynn or whatever. They had a manual interlocking at a station going into a tunnel.
Which is just so cool.
Speaking of the BRB&L, I actually just learned that they sold their coaches to the Oahu Railway, and they were actually in Pearl Harbor during the attack.
Oh wow.
Yeah. They
You mean
sold
the
them-
coaches they didn't sell to the EBT already?
Yeah, they sold a bunch of them to Hawaii, and they were there. They got there in early '41, and they were actually there in December, probably on base during the attack.
Yeah, because I remember a bunch of the sailors off the battleships talking about how they used to use that as a mode of transportation, and it was nicknamed the Chattanooga Choo Choo.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or more accurately, I suppose, the Boston area choo-choo.
Oh.
Okay, extra 6 is entering Mile Long Yard. Just keep on going to the Ironworks.
Nope.
Plot twist.
So Nick, is this your first time up the new alignment to the refinery?
No, this is time number 2.
Okay,
I
so
think
we've done this before.
We streamed my first time, and I was in awe pretty consistently through that. But
I've also fixed the alignment 6M, so it's not so spicy.
yeah, there was that one interesting bit.
It's much less interesting now.
Well, only in the best of ways.
Yes.
But yes, if for those of you who are joining us for the first or maybe the second time, you will get to appreciate the wonders of the AC Construction company.
The CCC?
Triple C. Yeah, the Triple C.
There's nothing wrong with my construction.
No, I didn't say there was. Anything else is by indirect inference.
Except for the woods branch. That's terrible. It feels like a logging railroad. There we go. It's prototypical.
I was gonna say that's deliberate though.
Because everything we do here is deliberate.
Yes.
And it's to teach you, viewers at home.
Absolutely. And that is the only reason.
Yes.
There's no other reason.
No other reasons at all.
Nope.
Couldn't be.
Impossible. Oh, did we already wish folks a happy national... Well, I guess yesterday was National Train Day, I suppose. Happy belated National Train Day, though.
Yeah.
Hope you enjoy it. If you celebrated it in a particularly exciting way, or even a mundane way, please feel free to share your experience with us. Jeff says, I still haven't been down south of the depot in game yet. Which is very easy to find yourself in if you're still if you're still trying to get enough coal and ore to merit the southern connections.
The southern connections are a lot of fun once you get there. There you have a lot. It's a lot of flat ground, so you have a lot more a lot more route options. So there's no quote unquote dev intended route to take. It's all up to you, the captain of industry, how you would like to construct your route.
Very triumphant way to think of it. The captain of industry. I am the captain of my own industry.
Yeah. It's I was trying to come up with a clever title for myself in Discord for our wonderful little railroad here, and I was like, Captain of Industry. Yeah, that sounds cool.
It's very motivational as well.
It is. So you are the captain of industry of your own railroad.
See, we're not just here to educate you, we're here to empower you as well.
I think we're good out of here, 98. There's nobody on the platform.
Roger.
Since you're running, I'm gonna do my chance to do a little bit of foaming.
Please.
I'm just slogging up the hill here. I'm watching this and I'm just picturing how much fun it would be to be on the scoop for this, of a heavy train slogging up the hill. This is I don't know, this is 4 tank cars, 4 pipe cars, and a hack. Just like, I can just picture how much, I can't even call it baling coal, but just like lightly scooping, just that little and often, little scoop to the left, right side, left corner, right back corner, left side sheet, right side sheet, and a nice bounce one up the middle. And we just start all over, left side sheet, right side sheet, left corner, right corner, bounce right in front of the door. And like I can just picture the whole, like my whole routine in my head firing up this hill. I can just see it all. I can see it all happening. I kind of wish I was firing it right now, because this is, I don't want to call it slogging up the grade, because I think the only reason we're having trouble is the weird frame rate physics. And if that wasn't there, I think we'd be doing fine on speed, because it's only 50% of the tonnage. This is a 1% grade, but God, I wish I was firing this right now. Can't wait till that's a mechanic in the game, and we're running 3-man crews, someone firing, someone running, someone as conductor, and I'll fire instead of running this game and just keep the thing hot.
The way that you're describing it now reminds me of when I used to square dance, and you'd have somebody calling out the dance. And you go circle to the left, and then hands right, cross down the middle.
It's how I teach
Very musical.
It's how I teach my students when they're new, and I'm teaching them my pattern, and it's their first time firing with me, and they just watched me fire a trip, and now it's their turn to try on the scoop, and I'll tell them where to put each scoop of coal, and to keep the pattern going for the whole time. So I'll be like, all right, front left, front right, front middle, stop. Middle left meaning left side sheet, middle right meaning right side sheet, and middle meaning center of the box. Okay, let that cook. All right, now back left, back right, right in front of the door. Good, let that cook. All right, now front left, front right, front center. And I'll tell them that order as they're going through the, right before the next scoop. And, there's 1,000 ways to skin a cat, there's 1,000 ways to fire. So I just walk them through my pattern and what to do, and throughout the day as they get a little bit more comfortable with it, maybe I don't tell them what to do every single scoop. Maybe it's, every other time they go through that pattern, that, as we like to call it, the 9 round, because it's 3 in the front, 3 in the middle, 3 in the back. But yeah, I guess it's kind of square dancey in that you're calling out where to put the coal next.
And then in walks somebody who's only fired for oil burners or ones with augers, and they're like, "What's that? A shovel?" Bad.
Everybody's tried somewhere.
I'd
mean,
love
I
to
get
try
that
a
this
Stoker
thing-
Fire at some point.
I mean, yeah, 1309 is not too far away.
Yeah, it is. That's like a 9-hour drive for me.
That's like a 15-hour drive for me.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. And we are arriving at the refinery.
Somebody
Alright.
stepped on a duck.
That was a sound effect. Coffee Cat Railway, hello. Glad to
Hey.
see you join us. That is it. I like the sounds of that as a railroad. That sounds like a cool place to be. The Coffee Cat Railway.
It does. Alright, and as you're coming off the grade here and into the refinery, Nick, you want to pinch it down to a crawl and we'll do a unload on the fly. And this is extra 93 to dispatch. Extra 93 to dispatch.
Extra 93. Or dispatch, go ahead.
Extra 93 has arrived at oil refinery at 9:03 p.m. 9:03.
Extra 93 arrived at 9:03. Dispatch out.
93 out. Alright, we've made it. Now, switching, which is kind of my favorite part. Running over the road's fun. Switching is more fun. And I'll maintain that anytime.
Agreed.
I'm a short liner. I come from running small freight trains, small passenger trains. I like... Sorry, my cat's just screaming at me and staring at his bed. I had to let him know it was okay to hop up. You know, I like the switching jobs. I really enjoy doing those. That's a good pace here, Nick.
Ready?
And someone's going to be getting the money for this. Don't know who. Picked a random person out of my company. Out of my railroad.
It's a raffle.
It is.
Zanita82. I was at a 5-inch club and they let me drive a 040 Proder. I think they mean quarter. Somehow, when shunting it, split the switch, derailed, broke the switch. The main yard lead down, one way in, one way out on the most active yard.
Oh,
That sounds like quite the adventure.
ow.
Well, somebody can send out the MOW on that one.
Yeah, that's... I have a great story that I can't tell on stream about Christmas when we ripped up a switch by accident with a derail. And does shut down the entire railroad during one night during Christmas. Rebuilt, I think the switch was rebuilt in like 4 hours.
Ow. That's pretty quick
Once I got the
turnaround.
train back on the tracks.
I love how the oil unloading looks like bouncy balls.
Right? Alright, that's the last car unloading here, so we can clear ahead 6 cars to a stop, 93.
Jeff says I saw 1 to 2 kilometers of rail slide into the ocean in the mudslides we had this year. Ooh,
Oof.
where?
Well, it was... Luckily, it was just one switch in a yard, and it was only 2 cars on the ground. So they were able to get both cars back on the rails pretty quick. And then building the switch took 4 hours in and of itself. And you can start bringing it to a stop anywhere in there, 93.
Copy.
But can't go into too much more detail on that. That event has mostly been scrubbed from the internet.
You had to be there.
You literally did. Alright, you are cut off. Okay, to pull ahead. 8 cars, 93. We're going to clear that switch you're sitting on.
You joke. I was wondering, Jeff, if that was the Pacific Northwest. He's confirming that was near Vancouver.
That sounds
Uh,
like Vancouver.
He watched the result of a rail splitting and a pair of hopper cars leveled a building in the marina parking lot a month or so ago.
Whew.
There's this video on YouTube I saw maybe a couple months ago, although I don't know when the event actually took place, where somebody captured a mudslide and it took out, so the train was going through the area and the mudslide hits and it just dominoed intermodal cars.
Whew.
Hey, at least it was mid-train and not front.
This is true. 3 more cars to clear. So now, as we're doing the switching moves, I'm thinking about the order I need to put these cars in. I want my heaviest cars up front on the trip back, my lightest cars at the rear, so I don't pull a Norfolk Southern and string land the train going through a curve. 2 more cars, 93. And my waybill, which we'll pull up shortly, says that I'm picking up oil barrels. 1 more car, 93. So those are going to be heavier than my tank cars. So those got to be first, then my tank cars, then my empty flats, then my caboose. So we're going to build the train in that order. Half a car. And far enough, 93. We'll get your pin and you'll give these guys a kick, then you can roll back and pin onto the flats.
Okay.
Pin's pulled. Let's go for a ride.
Time for the favorite maneuver of Mr. Lowry. The flying switch.
Well, kicking a car, not a flying switch, because we're not throwing a switch as cars are going by.
Ah, okay.
So this is a perfectly legal move in railroading to this day, as long as we check to make sure our handbrake works before we do it. So as long as we have that single stipulation, we're good.
Zanita, thank you for joining us. They have to cuddle their friend on VRC. I have no idea what VRC is, but thank you for joining us here on
Thanks
the
for
Virtual
stopping
Railroad
by.
Academy. I don't know. Does anyone else know what VRC is?
I think it's like a virtual the metaverse.
No. Not to be confused with the multiverse.
No, we don't want to confuse it with the multiverse.
Uh-oh, storm warning.
Yeah, I heard storm warning.
I'll try and stop these. Got 3 handbrakes on and we're still rolling. 4th?
They're heavy cars.
They really are. I was starting to get a little concerned they weren't going to stop before the switch. And this is the thing with kicking cars and flying switches, is you do want to check your handbrake before you do it to make sure it is sufficient to slow and stop the cut of cars that you're kicking. And 1 more car there, 93. Half a car. Truck length. And pins in. Alright, handbrake's knocked off. Okay to pull ahead. 2 cars. Or, sorry, okay to pull ahead to clear a switch.
Copy. Yeah, I always get confused between what just constitutes as kicking cars when going over a switch and what is a flying switch.
A flying switch is usually when the cars are following the engine. So you've ran the engine through,
Ah,
you've pulled the pin, you've run through, you've thrown the switch. And you got
okay.
how many cars do I have here? You've got 4 cars to a stop. I'll take things you don't want to hear your conductor say for 1,000, please,
Yes.
Alex.
Yes, that was disconcerting, slightly.
2 more cars. Sorry, I briefly forgot how to do math. And by math, I mean count. 1 more car. Half
Good
car.
news, folks. Our next guest
enough.
is going to be the Count from Sesame Street. We're just gonna make sure that we know what we're doing.
Alright,
on our
switches
car count.
thrown. Okay to shove. 6 to a stop.
Alrighty.
That was bad. Not gonna lie. That was not good of me.
These things happen.
Plateau Station Master to Dispatcher.
Go ahead, Plateau.
Train 98 has arrived.
Train 98 arrived, Plateau.
We go look inside, see if anybody's waiting.
So, question for train handling. Firing in a yard, what are you typically doing with your... If you're switching with a steam locomotive, what are you doing as far as your boiler pressure is concerned?
1
so
more
you're
car
not
to a
always...
stop.
So you're not always popping the safety.
So I am switching moves. I know we're gonna move like hell, then stop, then sit. You got another car and a half to go.
Yeah, you can take us ahead, 98.
You know.
So I'm trying to keep us 10 pounds below the safety, and I like to have anywhere from half to 3/4 of a glass, depending on the engine I'm using. If I'm using a saturated engine, you got 1 more car to go there, 93. This siding fits more than I was expecting. My timetable is wrong on how many cars this can fit. So I like staying like 10 pounds below the safety, because I know that I can bail a ton of coal in, but we're just going to stop shortly, especially switching in a yard. So I'm not going to rush for that. And far enough, 93, okay to pull ahead. 6 cars to clear the switch. And I am going to fire heavier on the sides and rear, and kind of let my middle go. I don't want to say go out, because I'm not going to let it go out, but I'm going to let the middle go down to a nice glow. And I'm going to keep my, so that way when I'm ready to go again, I've got my rear burning bright, I've got my sides burning bright, and then I can get one of my firing tools in and roll out all the coal I have in the back. It's called a heel. And push that out, cover the whole grate, and then sprinkle coal all the way around and get everything burning bright again. 2 cars to a stop, 93.
So it's kind of like a preheat method.
Yeah. 1 more car. The firing with a heel can be very handy. And just give me a minute here. Half a car. Truck. And far enough. I'm going to pull the pin. We'll give these a gentle kick. And come back in for the last 3. Pins pulled. Shove at your discretion. So firing with a heel is where it's like building a bank when you put the engine to bed at the end of the night. You put a bunch of coal in the rear of the firebox, up against the door sheet, and then you roll that coal out with a hook, and it's literally a metal hook. It's a long metal rod with a hook on the end that you can use to get into that coal and break it up and push it out and rake it out. Yeah, that's a good shove there, 93. So much like building a bank at the end of the night to let the engine simmer overnight, we do the same thing going over the road. And I like carrying that inside a yard when doing switching because it gives you kind of an insurance policy. If something on the fire goes out, I can always break open that bank, break open that heel, which has become nice and cokey. And coke is when you get a nice mass of it's when the coal kind of fuses together into a nice mass. And switches line 93, okay to shove into the dock. That whole dock holds 3 cars, just so you know. So, shove in as much as you would like.
Sounds good.
So yeah, I like working with my bank at the, I like keeping my heel and working with that. Because it gives me an insurance policy. If fire goes out somewhere, or if I need to make steam, I can crack open that bank, get that coke going, which burns nice and hot, and really get stuff cooking. Oh, I didn't need to pin into that.
Jeff says, so I just realized every time I've heard someone say rear of the firebox, I have mixed it up with the front. I had assumed rear far away, front close to the door.
That's a common mistake student firemen make when they're getting on the engine for the first time. Everything on the locomotive is based off of front being the front and the back being the rear of the tender. So everything's based around that. And you got one more car to go. So when we're counting, let's say rods, or we're counting drivers, or crank pins, we're counting rods, right? So we have, that's far enough, 93. We have the rods, we have the crank pin on number 1, the crank pin on number 2, the crank pin on number 3, the crank pin on number 4 in the case of a Mikado. And we count 1, 2, 3, 4 front to back. You can also alternatively denote that by saying left, right, or engineers, firemen's. Engineers being the engineers in America. This is America, because that's where I work and live. Engineers being the right-hand side, so you can say number 1 right, and everyone knows you're talking about the number 1 driver, engineer side. And that's far enough, 93. Okay to shove back. You got
Comes back to that idea of standard communication.
exactly. You got about 6 cars to a hook there.
Jeff says a lot of things Heiss and crew have said about firing draft, etc., have made much more sense now. That is true.
Yeah, that would clear up. Having watched all of his one-on-one videos, because I'm always looking for new ways to break stuff down when interacting with John Q. Public or student firemen, and everyone has a different way of explaining stuff. I find them very helpful for thinking of new ways of teaching. You got half a car here, 93. That having that understanding of front back would make a lot of those videos make more sense. Diesels have these nice little F's on them that let you know where front and back is, and steam engines don't. Alright, 93, okay to pull ahead. We're going, clear the crossover switch.
Gotcha.
I got a handbrake on here somewhere. Where did I put a handbrake on? Right there, and right there.
Did the loading issues get sorted with the refined crude oil?
They have not, so I end up loading those off streams.
Remind me what the issue is that you were
Uh,
experiencing with that.
it's a physics calculation problem. There's so much rolling
Oh,
stock, and
right.
or there's so much people that the computer's doing enough physics calculations where it needs to where it can't think about the other people. All right.
So are those cars that are there loaded?
They are loaded. Okay, and you know, Nick, we're gonna go to the end of the runaround.
Okay.
Just thinking about how to build this train in the way that makes the most sense.
Just build it on rock and roll. That's how we built this city.
I wanna rock and roll
Wow.
all night.
Nope, wrong song.
Yeah, no, but that's what I'm thinking of.
Oh. Thank you for the acknowledgement, Mr. Lowery.
Do you like your new nickname?
I don't like anything related to Starship, so.
It's not
Ha.
Starship. It's the
The song-
Pennsylvania Railroad.
That's not what Nick is referring to as Starship, so.
You got one more car there, 93. And far enough, 93. Switch is lined, and we'll give these a kick. You're gonna bump.
Or not.
Alright, pins pulled. Let's give these a nice shove, and I'll let you come back in for your own hack.
Alrighty.
Well,
Alright, that's probably good enough, 93.
Yep, I already started slowing down.
Awesome. And there is not a link or pin in the caboose. You should have both in the tender.
I do.
Usually you wouldn't be the engineer and your own brakeman at the same time, but a little bit of suspension of disbelief here, folks. You also can't... Well, no, you can kick cars. You can't fly switches. So you could theoretically switch out a yard like this. That's a curve? That was a kink. Wow.
I liked your acknowledgement of that. As if you were uncertain if it was a curve.
It's a curve inside of a straight. That's it. It's not a... It shouldn't be there. Okay, those cars are pinned in.
We got the caboose.
Alright, I'm running on up to help you. We'll kick this onto the train, then we'll go... wrong way.
I'm going the other way?
Yeah, you gotta go forward. We gotta put
Oh,
this...
because I gotta...
Yeah,
right
we gotta
back.
double it back over.
Got it. Coffee Cat Railway. Have you heard of the Bumpets Lego coming out in June? The Built This City reminded me. I didn't realize there was a Muppets Lego Lego set or Lego movie. I don't know what type of Lego product we're referring to. Video game. Could be a video game.
It could.
I don't know. I have not been keeping up to date with Lego news. So the thought of having Lego Trains and Railroads online does really excite me. Can you imagine that, like, once they've got the developer tools out,
So
that you could have Lego minifigures switching Lego railways?
I'd settle for a Lego minifigure switching narrow gauge railway.
That too. Everything's cuter with Lego minifigures.
I'm guessing you saw the post in the official Discord.
No, I didn't.
Oh, someone was talking about that today.
Oh. Type in the comments if you grew up with a Lego train of some sorts. I had a bunch. I had the Lego
Oh,
Santa
God.
Fe Super Chief.
had-
That is a nice set.
I had half of the Super Chief. I'm always disappointed it was never finished. It's far enough there. You can give me a kick, and then head on over to the Y. Plus, why not?
Oh, you beat me to it.
I couldn't help myself.
Fair enough. But yes, I had the blue express train, the red freight train, a steam set, and the Super Chief. The Super Chief was very nice.
I like the Super Chief. I had the green steam train, the Emerald Knight, the Super
Oh,
Chief,
that's a nice set.
and something from the 80s. Can't remember what the 80s one was.
That yellow express set, perhaps, or that like the yellow express
It was
freight
like
thing.
double-decker cars, but not really double-decker cars.
The Metroliner.
Maybe?
That was sort of Amtrak.
No, it was yellow. It was
Well, the yellow one
double-decker,
that
but not really double-decker.
the yellow one I'm thinking of was a yellow and black freight train that kind of looked like a passenger train. I'm
No,
not remembering
I
the
did
double
not have
decker.
that one. It was
Hmm.
like a split-level double-decker.
Interesting.
Alright, so while Nick is running around to the other side, we have a waybill. And the waybills that I use are kind of a terrible made-up form. It kind of amalgamates a waybill into a switch list. Kind of does dual purpose for me. Look, it works for me, and that's the key. Is it perfectly a waybill? No. Does it work for what I do? Yes. And that's how your railroad needs to work. So if we just hop over here, we can see my waybill. And we'll see we're extra 93. This waybill is wrong. We're only picking up those. This train originally was doing two things, but I had to break it up because it was too long. So, scratch out. You can't see it. I'm covering up 402 through 407. But we are picking up 403 and 408. So if we hop back into Railroads Online here, I close out of that. So you got 408 and 403, and we're bringing these back to Hill Valley. Alright, I'm gonna have you come straight on through first, Nick.
Oh, you are? Oh,
Yeah,
my bad.
no, I'm changing how I want to do this. That's my fault.
It's all good.
So, because of how this needs to work and how this is set up, we need to grab those cars, shove them down towards our train first before we can Y the engine. Because if we were to drop the cars here and then run around, well then now our engine would be stuck on the wrong end. So, and I know I don't have enough room there to squeeze by and do like a runaround. So we're doing things a little bit differently. We're gonna grab those cars.
Switching.
Yes, we do. Switching's my favorite part. I like the puzzle. Largely, the refinery's built to be a giant puzzle because I enjoy the puzzle of it all. So, little selfishly there, but hey, you know.
Life is more
Alright,
interesting than
and
children.
far enough 93. Let's bring her ahead.
Ninja says the only Lego piece I still have is the high rail excavator that they made. I remember that one. That was a cool one. Did not have it. And Jeff said never had any actual Lego train, but made my own trains. We did have a 120 or so square foot HO layout in our basement growing up. That's pretty sizable.
Ooh, that is quite large.
I think I remember having a BNSF GP38.
I remember that one. I
Yeah,
wanted that one.
That was
Who
cool.
didn't have a GP38 in HO? I feel
On-
like,
in
or an
Lego.
F7.
Yeah.
I have a FA.
I've got like 4 GP38s, I think.
I don't think I have
Right.
any GP38s.
I think I got one, and I got 4 of the Boston and Maine F7s.
Ooh,
Ooh.
that's a
I don't have. I only have F3s. And F2s.
I got 2 cars there, or car and a half. And pin. Alright, pins in, knocking off the handbrakes. Okay to start pulling. Now, if we had air on this train, we'd couple up to it and we'd do an initial terminal test on these cars. Because this is the initial terminal these cars are departing from. So let's pretend like we hooked up our air hoses, we did an initial terminal, and we made sure, you know, brakes set up on each car, they released on each car, handbrakes are knocked off.
Looks like I'm the closest.
Oh, you want to take over pilot's train?
Yeah.
Word. You could take a, I don't know where Carolyn's at, but you may be able to snag her to help.
She's away from her computer at the moment.
Oh, never mind. One more car there, 93. And far enough. I'm gonna get your pin. We'll give these a nice kick. And while these are running themselves around to the train, you can wire yourself. Sound good?
Sure.
All right.
I think I'm wise enough to take
Oh
it.
boy. That was a stretch.
Yeah, but you already did the why not thing, so
I mean, was it a stretch or did?
no, it was a shove.
It was. We bunched it.
Yeah.
Jeff says if only we had a proper switching locomotive. And I'll argue any engine's a switching engine if you try hard enough. I mean, hell, NS is switching to 3-axle stuff nowadays, so really, what's a switching engine? It could be anything.
There's nothing like
I'm
switch
trying
over
to-
the boy, guys.
No, I was gonna say DD40X.
Yeah.
There you go.
Hey, any engine's a switching engine if you try hard enough.
And you're comfortable walking back 80 feet every time you need to.
Ugh, don't remind me.
I mean,
on
hey,
another platform.
the Erie triplexes were relegated to switching in the end.
Ooh, we've got
This is
another
true.
Casey. ACDC97 says hi.
What's going on, other Casey?
You're our first other Casey. And that comes before having another Nick. So,
That's rare.
mm-hmm.
Alright, I got the switch on the other end of the Y for you.
Thank you. I like your buffer stop, which is basically just the rails curled up.
Hey, if the developers are going to give me a hill to run into, I'm going to use that hill to my advantage.
Operational note: if pilot's train is already on the roll, we can catch it at Creek Tank here.
That's a Roger.
Because it's going to be downhill all the way from there to here. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Presuming it has enough fuel.
well, it's still rolling downhill. It's not going to stop on its own.
Depending on where
Yeah.
it is, because there is a slight uphill first.
Alright,
Because
we'll see
there's
what
that
happens.
gully there.
We're waiting for it at Creek Tank, so we'll see what happens.
So that must have been who we heard have the weather warning.
I believe that may have been a tornado warning.
Yeah.
Oh, yikes.
Well, here's
Hopefully,
to hoping
pilot
pilot's
wasn't
safe.
planning,
Yeah.
and hoping he wasn't planning on flying tonight.
Yeah, good point.
I'm pretty sure his day job is a pilot too. But that's not
What a
here nor there.
coincidence. He does seem like he does have the voice for being able to do that. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Currently on approach to Albuquerque. Weather showing clear skies and
Yeah, the
Yeah,
that's
Yeah.
every pilot does that. It's to add confidence, so you know what sounds like they know
Mhm.
what they're doing.
right.
Yes.
We'll have to ask him whenever he reemerges from the storm. if he's mastered the art of the
Alright, that's pinned on. I'm gonna kick off that handbrake, because I'm gonna put on another handbrake. The train's an emergency, we don't need handbrakes, right?
Imagine if dispatchers talked like that.
Quick question.
Some
Is
do.
it bad as if
Some of them
your
do up here.
if your avatar gets catapulted into space, is that bad?
Is it when you're driving a train?
Well, on that bombshell.
Oh, that's the pit of doom. Holy cow.
Keep it rolling back there, 93.
So in case you're unaware, in Railroads Online, behind the iron mine, there is a pit, through which if you fall, you will not escape.
Oh, is it one of those cases where it's all the slippery rock and you can't?
Yep.
Oh,
Alright,
Fine.
93,
Yeah.
pin is in. So now, after doing this, we've tied onto our train. What we now do is we do a class 3 brake test, or a set and release, where I'd run back to the caboose, ask the engineer, give me a setup. They'd take a 6-pound set on the brake, and they'd take a sufficient set on the brake. I think it's like 12 pounds. I watch the brake cylinder come out on the rear car. Once I see that, and I go, alright, and knock them off. And engineer releases, I watch the brake cylinder retract, and I know that I have continuity from the front car all the way to the last car. And my brakes are working again. But we don't have air brakes, so we don't have to worry about that. But what we
Yeah.
do need, since we're an extra, is new paperwork to get back to Hill Valley. And we will get our new paperwork, and we will be calling it a night there, unfortunately. So, for the final time tonight, this is Extra 93 to dispatch.
93, go ahead.
93 is all made up at the refinery. We are ready to return south to the Hill Valley Yard. We are ready for new train orders at your discretion.
Roger. Sorry, I was reading a text from work.
No worries.
you're a dispatcher. You're allowed to have your cell phone.
Let's see.
And we've learned one thing tonight, folks. That's it.
Just one? Wow. We've also learned that the 24-hour clock is a new thing for railroads. We've learned all about the Form 19. We've learned using car counts for switching, and that there's such a thing as a railroad cell phone.
It's number 9.
Also, you're about to learn that the new crossing at the railroad north end of Creek Tank is now in service.
There's another crossing?
Well, yeah.
Why?
How are the cars going to get back across the river?
Because it goes to somewhere else.
It goes over here now. It goes to this crossing.
Continuity.
Mr. Over-engineering himself,
Because
ladies and
It does look
gentlemen.
nice, I have to say.
Because I was left alone at Creek Tank waiting for this runaway train to get here.
Rick, you're
Now we
supposed
have
to
a
be
place
watching
to
him.
fish. We have a place to fish now while we're waiting for the train.
Yeah, see, there you go.
That should be a little mini game, actually. You can break
Yeah.
and go fishing.
Yeah, there you go. See?
All right. Train order number 10.
Ooh.
Yeah, we've been a little busy.
Here comes the interstate.
Engine 93. Run extra from oil refinery. Sorry, to conductor and engineer. Engine 90 at oil refinery. Run extra. Engine 93. Run extra from oil refinery to Plateau. Not Plateau. You're going to Hill Valley Yard. Yeah, I'm getting tired.
I'm hearing a lot of ahs from this dispatcher. at the moment.
There you go.
All right.
Oh. And 90 8, that train is under control.
Okay. Good that I don't have a runaway hurling towards us down the grade. So.
All right, ready to read back.
Okay.
I've got a Form 19 train order number 1010 dated 5/11/22 to C&E Engine 93 at Oil Refinery. Engine 93 run refinery to Hill Valley Yard.
That is correct.
Made complete.
9:42.
Alright. Yeah. PM. Operator. AMW? No.
Yeah. AWP.
AWP. Your conductor's getting tired too. Alright. There's our train order back, folks. And now that we are tied onto our train, we are now considered we have now adopted our departing train number, which is extra 93 south.
North?
93 north. We've departed, we've got our new train number, which is 93 north. Because we've made up our train, we've got markers, and we have permission to travel on the main line. That's it. That's what you need to operate as a train. And all of the other stuff we've talked about tonight. How to move through a yard, getting your engine ready, leave your cylinder cocks open for a little bit. Yardmaster's the boss in the yard. You ask him for permission to do anything. That's the person you need to talk to move in through the yard for everything. We've learned a lot about talking to our dispatcher, proper communications with the dispatcher for filling out train orders, which we'll be getting into more on our class on dispatching. It's a 200 level course, so be sure to do the readings before you show up to that one. It will be quite a doozy. I'm looking forward to it. Don't know when we're doing it, but I'm still looking forward to it. And we've had a lot of meets tonight. I've really gotten the hang of. I know I've gotten the hang of copying the Form 19s. I hope you guys have too. I don't know. You have anything else, Nick?
I think that was a wonderful seminar. Hopefully our audience agrees, and do comment whether you're watching this live or on repeat what you thought. And we
To have hit the wrong button on my keyboard. We do read all the comments on YouTube, and take all of that into consideration, and we want to cover the topics you want to hear. So if you want to learn about something, drop something in the chat right now, or drop a comment on a YouTube video, and we'll put it into the queue. We want to cover a lot. So we want to cover all that stuff. But Nick, we have permission to depart, so you want to start pulling out. You got the high ball. I'll get the switch behind us as we depart the oil refinery for Hill Valley Yard. And I'm Professor Casey.
And I'm Professor Nick.
Thank you so much for watching, and we will catch you at the next class. Have a good night.
Take care.